Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. How are you this morning? Good morning. Hope you're doing great. You're having a wonderful day today. The sun is out. The temperatures are up. Well, they're temperatures, and the wind is blowing. So it's still a challenge out there, but it is coming, and there is beauty in it. So I hope that you are finding it as well this day. Hello, everybody. A little mug up this morning. Good morning, everyone. Hey, Donna, good morning to you. Hope you're doing great. Hope you're healing. Hope you get a little sunshine today. I'm thinking about you in my prayers. Good morning, good morning. Hello, friends. You're doing all right these days. Hey, Karen, good morning to you. Hey, Marianne, good morning. Nice to see you over the weekend. Sorry we didn't get a chance to say hi. Seems like that's all that happened all weekend. Is like I saw people and then I didn't get to say hi, whether it was at worship or you ever have those moments where you're like, oh, I want to say hi to those. Oh, and you end up saying hi to almost no one, but you see everybody. Kind of a weird thing, but there we are, doing okay. Sleepy day in spite of the sunshine. Well, I hope you rest. Resting is healing. All right, let's get going this morning, friends. It is the 5th day of May, Cinco de Mayo, this day. I hope you're having a great day and that there is goodness in it. And welcome to this 11:11 journey. And it really has been a journey, hasn't it? It's as the seasons kind of change a little bit, as we get in a little bit of more sunshine. I'm always reminded of these many seasons that this little journey. Some of you may be brand new to it today. You may be, you may have been. This may be a part of your ritual of your life, or this you may come and go. And this, however you've engaged this little journey of reflections that in this digital space, I bid you not just welcome, but this notion that it really has been something transformative in a journey over time. And it makes me think that these words of Jesus from Revelation, where he says, "Behold, I make all things new." And I always think this is such an important thing to hold up, because you get it in the Gospels when Jesus is teaching in a number of different ways that it's not it's not an improvement often. It's not behold, I make all things better. That whenever we talk about whenever Jesus is engaged in casting out demons, whenever he's engaged in healing, whenever or whenever he's bringing people back to life throughout his ministry, or even he's teaching throughout his ministry, there's not this like, okay, I'm going to make your life 3 points better on this an evaluation scale. No, it is this invitation to newness, that the blind will see, that if you're blind and you see, you are now living in a new reality. If you are deaf and you hear, you are living in a new reality. If you are if your body is broken and it is restored, if you are possessed by a demon and you no longer have that demon, there is this way in which it's not about being better. Like, although we can kind of see how those things could be construed as better, but they're not. They're new. And I want to lift this up today because I think understanding this it can kind of get us off some of the humps we get kind of hung up on. Some of the ditches that we find ourselves stuck in. Because often we're confronted with this improvement kind of. I mean, we're an improvement culture, right? Like I want to be prettier. I want to lift more weight. I want to do better. I want to increase my whatever sales quota, whatever. I mean, pick anything. But we're all in these sense of measurings and unfolding of a better quality of life. I mean, what product haven't you looked at over the years, and somehow at some point there's a little stamp on it that says new and improved? Well, maybe, but this kind of this is really, I think, at the heart of what our journey is, and to first understand it as a journey, that we come to make all things new. And I think this is right down to our daily sense. When I woke up this morning, I was actually thinking about this, about just before I even got out of bed and put my feet on the floor, and I'm like, this is a new day. It's a new day. And as I was kind of saying some prayers, and in the midst of that, there's this kind of reminder of me that it's a new day. Anything could happen in the course of this day. Anything could unfold. Now who knows what's going to happen? But my suspicion, it may be nothing radical. It may be nothing outside of the reportable instance. But it is absolutely new. And we become so inured to this. Like, we become so kind of numb to this notion that the newness of every day, the newness of every moment, has within it the potentialities of true wonder and true goodness and true being. The great poet T.S. Eliot says, he wrote this, and I love this line. It's one of my favorite lines in all of poetry. He wrote, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." That we shall not cease from exploring, and that the end of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. This is, as you may have suspected, this is not my first day getting out of bed, putting my little feet in my bunny slippers and paddling down the hall. That is a regular occurrence. And yet what we fill this day with, in this exploration, and that we may have eyes to see it, and hearts to experience it, and minds to encompass the newness of what we are encountering. It is so easy in this life that we are given to forget the newness that is before us all the time. And when Jesus says, this is in Revelation, so this is kind of the great summing up of the Bible, when he says, "Behold, I come to make all things new," is that we might have that grand experience every day. One of those joys of being with children is this notion of particularly young children, that when they encounter this new thing, you throw a baby up and they're like, "That was fun," and then and what do they say? Again, and then throw them up again, and then you throw the 57th time you're still throwing them in the air, like, okay, well, again. There's a theologian that says, that this is actually one of the core qualities of God. That God's a God because when he looked at the rhythms of the world, when he looked at the world that here we are in spring and the daffodils are pushing up, here we are and the tulips are making their glorious display, the blossoms are on the trees, and the sunsets are beautiful, and that the rhythm of these days and these seasons and the way that is baked into the cake of creation itself is to say that one of the core qualities of God, like that quality that we encounter in those children when they say, when we throw them in the air and they say again, that's the core quality of God. That God puts on the display of a sunset, and then the next day, and then we'll do it again the next day, and that God himself rejoices in the beauty of the creation. God pushes out a daffodil, yet again another year of daffodils, and rejoices in the creation, saying again, that this is the very voice of God himself, rejoicing in the newness, not just of creation in the physical world, but rejoicing in our newness too. So that we might come to our relationships, maybe we have, family relationships, we have spouses or partners, or we have friends, or we have, and we know them, we know how they are, I know how he is, we know how they are, don't we? Like we know them, and because we know them, we have put them in this box. We put them in this way that we're only going to encounter them in a certain way. We're only going to have a relationship with them in a certain way, and that in some ways we wall ourselves off even in the very relationships of our being because of the way that and it's so convenient and it's so easy to fall asleep into that and to lose the potentiality of what might be new. I saw an interview recently with the musician Sting, the guy from Police, Roxanne, that guy, yeah. He's reflecting. He's got a new piece coming out, and he's this interview, and the interviewer asked him, which is, I guess, what you said, this is a question he gets all the time. Actually, he says, do you find it difficult, or do you find it boring? Or how do you do it that you come back and sing again these songs that you wrote, literally decades ago? I think Roxanne's got to be close to 40 years old. I know. You want to feel old? That'll make me feel old. So he says, no, absolutely not. He says, absolutely not. He said, I don't find going back to singing Roxanne or Every Little Breath You Take or all of these songs, I don't find them boring at all. He says, because when I encounter them, they still have more mysteries to uncover to me in the same way as when same as the day I wrote them. Like when I wrote them, there was this kind of cosmic download. There was this inspiration that came to me and as they were created and I wrote them, there were things I discovered in them, beauties, the ways they were constructed, and that in the construction of what was being written. And I can still, to this day, as I will sing these songs, he said, as I will sing Roxanne, there's this way in which that there are still things to explore in them. There are still melodies to uncover. There are still ways in which and people in the audience may not notice that, but he says my musicians do. The people who have ears to hear it and eyes to see it, they notice. But there are still beauties and things to uncover, even in these songs that he wrote 40 years ago, as fresh as if they were the day I wrote them, he says. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. That we might be able to encounter the relationships of our lives. We might be able to encounter the intransigence of our own heart, those places in our heart that just aren't going to move and don't want to move and just can't, and we can't seem to do anything, but we can encounter those for the first time. We can encounter all of our being and its wonder and its shortcomings, and we can encounter it for the first time with the wonder of that. And that so when Jesus says in the great summing up of Revelation, behold, I come to make all things new, he says it not just because, oh, I'm just going to put a new, everybody's going to get a new coat of paint and we're going to wax this thing up. No, no, no. But that we're going to sing the songs of our very being. We are going to open our lives, and that we're going to have this experience of our lives. That every day is a day filled with wonder. Every daffodil is the first one that we might encounter. Every wonder every sunset and every sunrise is a wondering of beauty and joy. That every relationship is not going to be mired in the resentments and the difficulties and the challenges of our days, but they will truly have new notes and new things to discover within them. That, friends, is the promise of life with Christ. That, friends, is the promise that God comes to give us. It's not a new and improved existence, the way we would see on a package, but a truly new way of being in every moment. And that in our exploring of every day, our exploring of every moment, that the truth of our lives may come to open in more beautiful ways than we could ever imagine. So friends, my hope for you today is to maybe open our eyes in a new way, that we might see maybe an old relationship that's gotten stale, maybe an old difficult, an old part of yourself that you're trying to contend with, that it just has seems to be just a roadblock. Maybe a thing, an old acquaintance that seems to have just nothing new to hold within it, or even just the very street that you live on, that you've walked up and down for decades, or a road which you've traveled. But that you might pray to God and ask to see with his eyes, open to his providence, open to his spirit for you, that you may behold as he beholds, that he comes to make all things new for you. And in that newness, your heart may leap with the joy of a child, saying, again, again. Peace and grace to you all, my friends, and we'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11.